Anem per feina, que en tenim molta, la farem tota i la farem, el més important, amb alegria, que a mi m'agrada fer les coses amb alegria, que tot marxa millor. Mira, un dels problemes, jo diria problemes barra reptes, perquè a mi m'agrada més veure un problema com un repte a solucionar, doncs un dels reptes dels arxius és la compartimentació del coneixement. N'hem parlat molt també al llarg de la jornada d'ahir. És el que s'anomenen les sitges d'informació, en castellà los silos d'informació, això de què n'hem parlat tant, aquestes enormes quantitats d'informació tractades en bases de dades on és molt difícil la interoperativitat, és a dir, allò de dir compartir informació. És meva, no la vull compartir amb ningú. Això passa molt, sobretot a l'administració pública també, on és molt difícil compartir la informació que ruli entre uns i altres. Compartir entre arxius i compartir entre arxius d'una institució i d'una altra. Així, cada arxiu o biblioteca que té grans volums de dades, què passa? Doncs que no es poden compartir, no es poden presentar de manera conjunta o relacionada a fora dels seus sistemes, i una de les gràcies de la vostra feina és que es pugui compartir, que es pugui veure. Amb la iniciativa Linked Open Data, que opera amb tecnologies de web semàntic, la informació s'obre i el que fa és que trenca aquest aïllament de les bases de dades per integrar-se i donar a l'usuari una resposta completa procedent de múltiples fonts d'informació, dels arxius, biblioteques, museus i altres institucions, com si estigués treballant en una única base de dades. Podríem dir que el web es converteix en una única i transversal i universal enorme base de dades on la informació té significat i context, allò que dèiem que és tan important. Ara en coneixerem un model més de prop, el model SAMPO, per a la publicació col·laborativa de continguts del patrimoni cultural com a serveis de Linked Open Data i portals semàntics en particular. El que farem és presentar-vos experiències sobre la publicació dels arxius històrics de guerra dels Arxius Nacionals de Finlàndia. I ho farem de la mà de tot un expert en la matèria, Eero, que és professor de Tecnologia de Mitjans Semàntics de la Universitat d'Aalto, del Departament d'Informàtica, director també del Centre d'Humanitats Digitals de Helsinki, a la Universitat d'Helsinki, Facultat d'Arts, dirigint el grup de recerca d'informàtica semàntica, SeCo, especialitzat en tecnologies i aplicacions del web semàntica en humanitats digitals. Ha publicat 500 articles i llibres de recerca i ha obtingut diversos premis internacionals i nacionals. Rebem en aquest auditori amb un fort aplaudiment Eero Hyvönen.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be in this nice environment here. I come from Finland, from Aalto University and Helsinki University. So first, my talk is about linked data, as mentioned here, some motivating words about that, and then I will present the SAMPO model and series of systems that we have created during the 20 years in Finland. And in particular, I focus on 3 SAMPOs, systems for sharing memories of war history: War SAMPO, War Victim SAMPO, and War Memoir SAMPO. So my main topic here is that although the archives, museums, and other memory organizations have lots of information available as printed texts, even digitized and on the web, the data typically is not available as data for computers to use. So it's only meant for reading by human users. And we need this kind of data for research in digital humanities, for analyzing the data, and for creating different kind of applications for the public and researchers as well. There are 3 main reasons, I think, for using linked data, why we chose this approach. First of all, everybody's data is enriched by linking different data from different data silos. So basically everybody wins by collaboration. You can enrich your data by your friends' data, so to say. Then this idea or the methodology behind linked open data makes your data more valuable. Its value increases by using the FAIR principles that are very eminent in linked data approach. So we create findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable data. And finally, it's much more easier for our computer scientists to develop applications, intelligent applications for public curators and researchers if the machine understands the contents of your archive, for example. So if the machine doesn't understand what kind of information it's dealing with, it's of course very difficult to create anything useful. Leonardo da Vinci has said, learn how to see, realize that everything connects to everything else. So he was a kind of Renaissance genius working in different application domains, and among other things, I think he's the first inventor of linked data. I'm not sure if this is a fact, but it looks like, based on this kind of things that he has said. And actually, we have created war sample, war victim sample, and war memorial sample to prove that Leonardo was actually right here. Everything is linked. The more bigger picture that we are actually dealing with, I claim that we are actually having 4 generations of publishing data for humanities. So first, data and information was published by engraving data in tombstones and other stones, so to say, and then came printed texts in different forms. In the 90s, we started to have even online systems of digitized collections, archives, for searching and exploring the data, but we still need to move ahead. And our focus is on the 3rd generation, where the idea is to publish the content as linked data with tools for digital humanities. So we integrate the tools for analyzing and using the data with the data. It's not only publishing the data that we are dealing here. And then the final 4th generation that we are already starting to work on and have developed already something is the era of artificial intelligence and automatic knowledge discovery. And the idea there is that the computer is not only a tool, but it's kind of an intelligent agent that tries to find from our data automatically different interesting research questions that we can then explore by ourselves, and even provide explainable answers to these research questions. Here's a video provided by the Finnish Academy.
Science is vast, and so is the concept of AI. Though based on mathematical thinking, AI also has a lot to offer to social sciences through multidisciplinary approaches. For example, gathering of information. Very often, search engines give irrelevant or uninteresting results, or they can be out of context. The computer cannot comprehend what particular documents on the web are about. To provide more intelligent access for information, scientists have created the Semantic web, where contents on the web are made comprehensible to the computer.
Another major benefit of the semantic web is that it can aggregate data from different data sources, even across language barriers. So we can get more data into the systems and in an interoperable way, so that people can be served with not only more intelligently the data, but also more data.
A worldwide pioneering semantic web concept has been developed in cooperation with the University of Helsinki and the Aalto University. It is a series of 12 semantic portals, each dedicated to a certain context. For example, the biography sample is a collection of over 13,000 biographies held by the Finnish Literature Society. These were transformed into a linked data service and enriched by linking it to the data of 16 external sources, such as Wikipedia, libraries, museums, and other archive collections. If you click on a particular biographical subject, you get a lot of interlinked, rich content about them. You can compare their lifeline on an interactive map, or you can select different life events from a list composed from different biography sources.
We have integrated the search and exploration systems with data analytic tools. So you not only get the possibility of search and explore the data, but also do data analysis and find interesting patterns of knowledge in the data.
For example, you can compare the places of birth and death of generals and clergymen in Finland in the 19th century and find out that generals moved a lot more than the clergy, who tended to remain in one place.
we're using artificial intelligence for solving problems. So not only do we provide the user with the tools for solving the problems, but we can provide him with artificial intelligence that can solve the problems by itself.
So let's move on then to the sample model that we have developed and using in our series of sample systems. Here's a picture of what is it about. So the heart of all is a data and ontology infrastructure that we have been creating in Finland for 20 years or so. And then we have this sample circle here, magic circle. And outside the circle we have different data providers that are interested in sharing their knowledge. So we have archives, museums, land survey companies, link data, clouds, citizens, and so on, media companies. And the idea is that when these organizations provide information, if they're using the same data highway, so to say, the ontology infrastructure here, when you submit something here, it is automatically interlinked with the other guy's information and it gets enriched. And at the same time, everybody else gets a new piece of information related to their data. So this is a business model, so to say, where everybody can win. And then once we have created this kind of linked open data service, we publish it openly on the web, using actually this Linked Data Finland service here, you can see. And then this service is used by Sparkle API, application programming information, in two ways. First of all, it's very easy to use this system for digital humanities research by using tools like Google Colab, Jupyter Notebooks, and so on. And you can really analyze the data that is in there and create all kinds of statistics and other visualizations of the data, for example. And then it's possible to create applications, and our sample systems on the web, they are actually application demonstrators on how this kind of linked data can be used in practice for general good and research purposes. So we have come up with 6 different principles that we call now sample model. First of all, there are three principles for creating the linked open data services. Support collaborative data creation publishing, use a shared open ontology infrastructure, make a clear distinction between the linked open data service and the user interface. This is very important from a programming point of view. And then we have 3 principles for creating the portal interfaces, where we are in a way trying to standardize the way of using linked data in portals. So we are providing multiple perspectives to the same data, that's reusing the data in different ways without touching the data at all. We standardize the portal usage by simple filter, analyze 2-step, where we first filter out interesting information and then we analyze that information that we have filtered out there. And then finally, we try to support data analysis and knowledge discovery, not only data exploration and in traditional systems. Albert Einstein has said, intellectuals solve problems, but geniuses prevent them. I think this is a good sort of advice, and it really tells why infrastructure is very important in the middle of the whole system. So here's a list of some 20 systems that we have developed and that are in use on the Semantic web at the moment. We started with museum collections 20 years ago and published a Museum Finland system that integrated museum collections from different parts of Finland. Then culture sample, we tried to show that whatever there is related to culture, intangible or tangible, it can be incorporated in a portal. And we, for example, transformed the Finnish epic Kalevala into a knowledge graph as a kind of centerpiece of this system. Then we had a travel sample for touristic information. Book sample publishes all Finnish fiction literature on the Semantic web, and it's the most used sample at the moment. Last year there were 1.6 million users. And this system is already deployed by the Finnish public libraries, used everywhere in Finland. Then we started to use on war history with the University of Colorado Boulder. We created a system for the First World War, and then we did the Second World War systems, war sample, war victim sample, and war memoir sample that I will be explaining more in this talk. We have focused a lot on biographical data, Norsi alumni, over 10,000 school students in a Semantic web, US Congress, everybody in US Congress is there. biography sample mentioned in the video, and name sample for toponomastic research. It contains over 2 million different place names that have been collected in a kind of citizen science effort in Finland. We also use the land survey data from Finland for that system. Mapping manuscript migrations, it's an international system we developed with University of Oxford, University of Pennsylvania, and a research center in Paris, France. Academic samples about Finnish academic people, everybody actually who got academic degree in Finland during that period is there. Find sample is archaeological system for metal detecting and other finds in Finland. We are now working on British Museum data in the same way as well, so this is a very nice area actually for applications archaeology. Then we have letter sample, another international system for early modern letters on semantic web based on tens of archives around Europe, and the data comes from Oxford University and Berlin, Brandenburg, Academy of Sciences, Corresp Search database, and from the Netherlands. So this is dealing with epistolary data and analyzing the networks of those people in early modern times. Law sample publishes Finnish legislation on the semantic web, and this autumn, this spring, we published Parliament of Finland on the semantic web, where we have all the million speeches ever given in the Finnish Parliament, and an ontology of the Parliament with 3,000 speakers there in a linked data service, and you can so analyze, for example, the speeches of the politicians and analyze the networks that they have created during their career. The name Sampo comes from the mythical artifact of the Finnish epic Kalevala that is giving its owner riches and good fortune. So it's a kind of metaphor of amazing ancient technology. Well, I think the linked data methodology, as you can see here, it's like Leonardo says, that everything is connected. We really can witness this in our work, and it's a kind of Swiss knife that seems to fit whatever data you have there. And of course, the linked data is the idea of the linked data is to be a kind of domain agnostic technology for all kinds of contents for web. Well, let's move on then to the practice, the 3 in-use sample systems for sharing memories of military history. War sample, Finnish World War II on the semantic web was the first one. It was published, the first version, on 2015 already, and then we have extended it in many ways after that. Georg Friedrich Hegel has said, "We learn from history that we learn nothing from history." What could be more true if you think that we had First World War, the Great War, and then soon after the Second World War, we didn't learn much. And now Putin is attacking Ukraine. We have a full war in Europe. But I think we have created war sample, war victim sample, and war memory sample to prove that Hegel was wrong. You can call me a dreamer, but I think that the more we know about the price of the war, the less there will be wars. So the background of our system here is that Stalin attacked Finland in 1939 in the start of the Second World War, and there were actually 3 wars related to that during that period, exactly in the same way as Putin now attacks Ukraine. The key ideas of this war sample system is that we're actually trying to reassemble the life stories of all 95,000 Finnish soldiers who were killed in action during the Second World War. That data comes from the National Archives. We try to preserve and share their memory for their relatives, friends, and the Finnish nation in the large. And we also try to facilitate digital humanities research on this military history data. We integrate lots of different data sets. The core of the system is actually the death records that we got from National Archives, and tens of thousands actually today of war diaries, the original primary data. Then we have 160,000 photographs and films from the defense sources, authentic ones. And then we have thousands of articles that were written after the war by the veterans in a magazine called Kansa Taisteli. Then we have lots of different data sets for geo-information, since this is historical data, and the places are not anymore there. For example, part of Finland was annexed to the Soviet Union, for example, there. And then we have lots of military data and biographical data about famous soldiers, for example, there, and events. So we created a kind of ontology of the Second World War in Finland as kind of core of this whole system.
Warsampo is a portal that contains information regarding the Finnish front of World War II, and it provides different perspectives of the war based on interlinked datasets. The Warsampo datasets have been compiled from multiple data sources. Datasets are interlinked, enriched with additional information, and published as linked open data. SeDoc CRM is used as the harmonizing data model. From the portal, you can browse and explore the Warsampo datasets. For example, you can look up Paavo Talvela, a prominent figure in the Finnish military history. You can follow the movements of the person in timeline and on map. The heat map visualizes the casualties of war during the selected time window. You can view photos from the locations the person was situated in. You can see the course of the events of the continuation war and investigate detailed information of a military unit. You can see the locations of the events on historical maps and get deeper insight by reading memories of soldiers enriched with contextual information.
Okay, and here's some more technology behind the system. So actually what Warsampo establishes is a kind of linked data cloud, you can say here. These bubble nodes here are actually classes of different things, and the central class is the events. We have something like 600,000 different events. For example, that continuation war started on the 13th of November in 1939. That's one triple in linked data terminology. And we have now 14 million of this kind of triples interlinked in the knowledge graph, so to say. And the data that we have here, actually it's official part of also the international linked open data cloud that you can see on the left in this image. So the data is not only integrated or linked to Finnish data, but also to some international sources based on the international effort of linked data. Here's the data model. I won't go into the details here, but the key here is, again, the idea of having and presenting war and people's lives as a sequence of events from birth to death. And they are kind of semantic glue that binds everything together. So this is what perhaps Leonardo was thinking, or he wasn't thinking of the events, I'm pretty sure of that, but the events are really the semantic glue. For example, if there's a photograph of a soldier, then this means that there has been a photographing event where the soldier was the sort of object of that photographing event. It was taken by somebody. It was taken in a particular place, and in certain time. So in that way, the photograph can be incorporated into the life story of that soldier, and it also integrates and contextualizes the information about the photograph in a new way. We also use document-based metadata using Dublin core-based systems, and because we also need this kind of way of showing the information and maintaining the information from the human and curator perspective. So we actually have, in many cases, we have double representations of the same data because we have to use it in different ways. For data integration, we use events, and for presenting the information, we use Dublin core-like metadata models. The video showed only the portal, but it should be emphasized that there is also the data service available, open there, and it can be used for different kind of research purposes. For example, here we have analyzed by a histogram on a timeline the casualties of the 33rd Infantry Regiment during the Second World War. You can see these peaks where these different people were killed. In this field. And you can also, as shown here, you can also visualize the events and stuff like that, casualties on maps and timelines on the portal already. The key challenges here have been data production and maintenance, transforming the heterogeneous data silos and consolidating them, named entity disambiguation and linking. So we're not only doing named entity recognition, but we really have to find out who this person is in the underlying ontology in order to integrate the data. We enrich data from external sources and use natural language processing, of course, for the text, because much of the data is not in structured form, but natural language descriptions. Maintaining and changing the data, that's a challenge, really, because everything is linked together, as Leonardo says. When we change something, it can have all kinds of effects in other parts of the huge knowledge graph there. And we need expert level checking and editing there. We don't touch it. We always send all the comments that we have got hundreds of those since the publication of the system, and we send them to the National Archives, and they do the sort of expert checking that whether this correction is right or not. A repeatable data pipeline is needed because when data is changed, then we have to rebuild the system so that it will include the corrections and extensions needed there. So in short, I think this was a very successful project. There are now 8 applications already, not 7 as in the video. There's the linked open data service for research purposes, and lots of users. We have 5.5 million users in Finland, and over 1 million people have checked this, and all the content is in Finnish. so it's really interesting. People are very interested in finding out how the relatives did and died during the Second World War. We got some international awards for this, and more importantly, perhaps, there are now these new spin-off systems that we have created. I will go to this in a while, War Victim Sample, War Sample, building on the same kind of ideas and infrastructure that we built in War Sample. There are lots of papers if you are interested in the academic side of this research project. Let's move on then to the next sample system, War Victim Sample, Finnish Civil War and Kindred Wars on the Semantic web. The idea there is to reapply the sample model to victims and battles of the Civil War in Finland. We use here, again, the National Archives databases are kind of core element of the system. People are still a lot looking about information about the fallen predecessors, even if it's more than 10 years ago that these events took place. And many people are also interested in analyzing the data from a research perspective. So that was also our idea in developing the system. We also, from a research point of view, we test the new Sampo UI tool for interface design that we have now used for 16 different samples. It's a very nice tool, used even by companies now for developing systems. It's a kind of programming JavaScript-based framework for doing this kind of systems in practice. We focused on integrating and using the data analytic tools as well there and representing provenance data from multiple sources, because in this case we had multiple resources from which the data comes from. Here's a picture of the original National Archive system, which is a traditional second-generation system. You basically fill in a form, and then you push the button search, and then you get results like this here in bottom. So this is a kind of traditional way of searching, probably also in your own archives. And we wanted to do something more fancy or more useful to the users. Here you can see the metadata about this particular person, for example, who was killed in the civil war. So in a war victim sample, we have only 2 different views, not 9 as in war sample. One is for zooming into the deaths of the civil war, 42,000 of them. Basically, everybody who was killed there is recorded there. But we also had another database of the over 1,000 battles that took place during the civil war. So we have two different perspectives as suggested by the sample model for zooming into the data and then retrieving more information and doing data analysis.
Let us demonstrate how the war victim sample is used. On the landing page, you can select the deaths view by clicking on it. And you get the search view where you have 22 facets here to filter out the deaths more. For example, we can open the facet for place of birth here and find Helsinki. So there are over 500 people born in Helsinki and who were killed during the wars. By selecting, you can see the deaths on the right-hand side, by default using a table view. But you can also view the same result set in terms of a pie chart by selecting a tab here. And now you can see that the deaths are classified based on the party, and you can see that most of the deaths are for the red and a smaller part for the whites. You can also view this as a histogram alternatively. You can also view the result set, the people or deaths of people who were born in Helsinki as a line chart here, and now you can see the age of the people when they died. You can see that there are even people that were only 11 years old who were killed during the war. You can also filter out or visualize the result set based on the year of birth and as well as the day of death. And you can see that the most dangerous day has been April 12th, when 20 people born in Helsinki were killed. You can also visualize the deaths on a map, and you can see then places where these people were killed. By zooming in, you can find more information. You can see, for example, that 2 persons were killed in St. Petersburg. If I click here, you will get the deaths here, and by clicking further on this person's name, I will get into his homepage where I can have more information about that person. It turns out that he was actually murdered in St. Petersburg here. These links are here, links to information from which this data has been derived. So, for example, if I click here, you can get the original data from which this data comes from.
Yeah, it's important to get access to the primary sources from a research perspective. There's also the other view of the battles. I will show only a little bit about it, a kind of animation, yet another way of using linked data, animating the data for illustrating what's happening there.
This animation in war victim sample shows where and when the battles of the Finnish Civil War take place. Red circles indicate where people are killed at different moments of time.
You can see the front line now developing in the middle, where the main fights were.
The battles move from the north to the south.
Now the Germans actually come to Finland from the south. They are the part of the First World War, actually the Finnish Civil War, and then they ended in the eastern part of Finland, the battles. Again, you can find more information in these academic publications of the system. Then finally, let's move on to the third thing that we are developing here. And the idea there is that we are making videos available from the archives to the public. Videos about the Second World War as interviewed by a veteran organization actually here. Here's a team that we have been working here. Tammenlehven Liitto is the veteran association that actually did the interviews of these war veterans, and then we collaborated with National Archives of Finland. And then our team came from Aalto University and University of Helsinki Center for Digital Humanities. So the idea was there that, again, reusing, as Albert Einstein suggested, perhaps, reusing the infrastructure for building new systems. So we're actually building a new system on top of the infrastructure that we created when we did a war sample system, because we have lots of information about the war, places, persons, and so on. They're already available. And the idea is to share the video memoirs of the veterans to the next generation. So the challenge is from technical point of view of how can we support searching inside long videos on the web, because the videos are often like 2 hours long, and you would like to find a particular scene or place inside the video. How can we find that easily? So that was one research question. And then other question, how can we enhance watching experience by contextualizing the video with the infrastructure? When you are watching the video, you would like to get more information related to these events that took place in particular parts of the video. And as a study material, we used the collection of war memoir videos of the World War II veterans then. The solution was to apply the sample model to enhanced video searching and viewing. We did automatic knowledge graph extraction because we only had, or lots of the information was only in textual form in the video transcripts. We used faceted search and browsing as the previous systems for video scene searching. And then we provide contextual linked data when viewing the scenes in the video. And here we use the war sample knowledge graph as a kind of base of information, and also Wikidata and Wikipedia, so that you can find more information about the video parts. And sample model is used, and the sample UI tool for implementing the actual portal. The model that we have here is illustrated here. So we had an Excel sheet, basically, of the different scenes and videos that we have there, so tabular data about the videos and their segments. And then we had a collection of videos. And we published the videos in YouTube, because YouTube is a nice sort of platform for streaming the videos. And then we created automatically from tabular data about the interviews a knowledge graph, where we basically have information about the different segments and videos involved. And then we enrich the data by using Wikidata, Wikipedia, and knowledge graph of war sample. And then we published this on the Linked Data Finland platform, and on top of that we created the war memoir sample portal for everybody to use. Here's what is actually happening there. The most interesting part perhaps is how can we create the knowledge graph from textual information, and it's in the top here. So we have interview clips. These are textual descriptions of the different scenes that the interviewer had made about the video, and we extracted name entities and keywords. Also, we are using a tool called ANIF for that, and we also lemmatized the whole text because we need that for search purposes. And then we interlinked it with war sample data and Wikidata here. So we extracted the named entities, and then we disambiguated and interlinked them with these knowledge graphs there in order to sort of link the textual data to these actual knowledge graphs and ontologies here. And then the final outcome is the knowledge graph that is used in the portal as a basis. Here's still another part of the reconciliation, because now we are linking in 2 different or even 3 different knowledge graphs. We also have to find out whether the resources that we find from these different sources are really the same. So if we are speaking of Mannerheim, a person, is this the same guy that is also mentioned and present in another knowledge graph? And this is also something that can be tedious, but we found out that it was actually we could do it pretty well, I must say. So the F1 score for disambiguating and interlinking then was 0.9, which is pretty good, I think. And the reason for that is that the people in the interviews, they usually mention only prominent people, not somebody that nobody knows, because they know that they are interviewing, so they know that they don't speak about their children or things like that so much, because people don't understand who these guys are. So this kind of hidden strategy of the videos helped us in doing this. Actually, what we created here, a kind of video sample framework that then can be applied to any video system like this. So we actually found out that actually the sample model can be generalized on a kind of framework level, where the same framework can be used with different data sets that share some domain knowledge about their own domain. So, for example, we are doing now that in archaeology as well, that we are creating several systems for archaeology where we can reuse the earlier samples that we have created, also as a kind of portal implementations. Well, using the portal, it looks like this.
Let us demonstrate the use of war memoir sample. On the landing page, there are 3 different views to the data. You can search for whole interviews or scenes in interviews, or you can use a directory for finding different scenes in the videos. Let us select the scene view here. A faceted search engine is then opened, where you can search for different scenes by using different criteria. For example, you can search for scenes that mention certain persons. In this case, we can, for example, select Carl Gustav Emil Mannerheim, a famous general, and if I click here, you will get the 40 different scenes in which he is mentioned. From the result set here on the right, we can then select any scene here. For example, Mr. Komulainen Arvo is presented in this video, and the video opens in the right place where none here. You can go around here, and you can see that the point of the video is automatically changed.
Content.
For each of these parts of the video, there are different places that are mentioned here, and different persons as well that are mentioned here. There can also be some troops and other things mentioned. You can view also the interview on top of a map, and here you can see different places that are mentioned in his video. For example, if I click here, you can then find a link to his video to part 16, where this particular place, Juvela, is mentioned. If I click here, you can go to the right place, and you can hear more about that place as memoired by this guy. You can also inspect the videos in terms of tag clouds that tell you a little bit about the content of the whole video.
Yeah, these were automatically detected by using the UNIF tool from textual descriptions of the scenes that you have there. Okay, I have here some slides just to repeat. So we have different views again as the sample model suggested, and we used here the middle one for the scenes, and there you have lots of facets for locating different places in these videos that you can see here. And then you have on the top you have these tabs again for visualizing the video or set of videos that you have found by using this, again according to the sample model and sample UI framework. And when you are viewing it, we provide this contextual viewing view where on the right you can see the place and the textual description of that part of the video, and then you get links, contextualizing links below. And if you click any of these links, then you get more information about these entities that have been found in the text above. So here's in the video, I didn't show it, but here, for example, if you click on a place, Viipuri, that is mentioned in a video, you actually get to a home page of Viipuri city in Warsampo system. And in Warsampo, we have also aggregated all events including memoir articles in the magazine, photographs, and events to that place. And you get this kind of selection of different kind of information that is related through Warsampo to this place. So we can really reuse the infrastructure of Warsampo to the good of the user of War Memoir Sampo now, without any additional work. So it's free lunch. And if you click something there, you will find, for example, photographs related to that city, taken there about the city. Then you have events, for example, if somebody is killed or wounded in Viipuri, you will have an event there, and you can have more information about that event. And then you can have the memoirs, the articles in the magazine, in this case, for example, this article relating to Viipuri city. So lots of contextual information can be provided then. And here are some key publications, academic ones, related to this work. So I guess that was it. There are more information about each of these systems in English and in Finnish also in these three first links. So you will have more information and videos, more videos about the systems as well here of War Sampo, War Victim Sampo, War Memoir Sampo here. And then we have collected actually information about all Sampo, 20 plus Sampos in this place here, where you have also lots of videos and academic articles and so on, if you're indeed information. And lots of publications by our group are also available, most of them online, openly in this address. Thank you.
Fantàstica l'exposició que ens ha fet Eero Hyvönen. El que hem descobert és que Leonardo da Vinci, que ha sortit diverses vegades al llarg de la seva exposició, realment va ser un precursor d'aquest link en open data, quan deia que tot es connecta amb tota la resta, i ho hem anat veient al llarg del que ens ha anat explicant. Aquestes dades vinculades, que ens deia, és important, aquestes dades són reutilitzables, són interoperables, trenquen la barrera de l'idioma, i aquest és un model de negoci, deia ell, de dades on tothom hi guanya. Ho hem vist, La veritat és que el guany és exponencial, creant autèntiques, jo diria que autopistes d'informació, amb aquestes esferes que es van creant. És una família, la família Sampo, que va creixent, ja hi ha 18 famílies, diguem, dintre la gran família Sampo, i Sampo, que agafa el nom d'aquesta criatura mitològica de la mitologia finesa que porta riquesa i bona sort. De fet, jo començava dient que hem de ser positius i la veritat és que amb el Sampo és una eina que realment ens porta cap aquí. Els exemples que ens ha posat sobre el War Sampo, sobre la guerra, sobre aquests 95.000 soldats dels quals s'intenta recuperar la memòria que van morir a la Segona Guerra Mundial, i els milions de visites que tenen dels seus familiars, i com és increïble quan es connecta tota aquesta informació el que s'arriba a fer. També sobre aquesta guerra civil, les 42.000 víctimes d'aquesta guerra civil de Finlàndia de fa ja 100 anys, i també els milers de persones que volen consultar, que volen saber dels seus familiars. I finalment aquest exercici de memòria històrica amb els combatents i les persones que estan vives encara, aquests records dels excombatents en aquest War Memory Sampo, i aquest esforç de dir amb entrevistes que duren 2 hores, com ho fem a través d'aquest web semàntic per localitzar, i la veritat és que no sé què us han semblat, les demostracions que ens ha posat són espectaculars. Em quedo amb una de les coses que ha dit al començament, però jo m'ho guardo pel final, de dir, ostres, com és possible que després de tota aquesta experiència, després del que ens ha plantificat a davant de la cara aquest War Sampo que hem vist aquí, tinguem una guerra al cor d'Europa, a Ucraïna. Jo crec que Putin hauria de tenir una tecnologia com aquesta, de dir què ens està passant, per què no aprenem de la memòria. Jo demano un altre fort aplaudiment per Eero Hyvönen, per la feina que han fet. Moltes gràcies. Jo no sé, tenim 2 minuts. Si algú té alguna pregunta, ho dic perquè avui intentem anar a temps i ell ha sigut molt curós en el temps. Algú de sala, ara em posa en llum, algú té alguna pregunta? Us ha quedat algun dubte? No, s'ha explicat superbé. Vull dir, jo la veritat és que de dubtes pocs. No? Ningú? 3, 2, 1... No questions. Moltes gràcies. Moltes gràcies. Thank you very much.